This is Pastor Steve with an encouraging word. This week we're in ordinary time, and so we're talking about ordinary grace, ordinary miracles we need each day to help us in our life. Now there's some big miracles in the Bible where God shows up big. There are times we may need that, but most of the time, maybe not so much. But we still need God every day. We still need His grace to help us with the things we face, with decisions we make, with trying to live the life He calls us to live. Now I was thinking about David and Goliath, that great Bible story where young David stood up against a giant. Giant stood there with big spear, big shield. And David stood there with just a slingshot and a couple of rocks. But God's miracle occurred. David killed that giant. What a wondrous victory for God's people, for little David. But I don't know about you, but most of the people I face aren't that big, aren't that strong. And though I may make a caricature of them, may take their traits and try to make them worse than they are, more evil than they are, with duplicitous plans and plotting against me, quite often, really, they're just ordinary people like you and me. And so I need ordinary grace, an ordinary miracle when I face them. What comes to mind is Paul's words in Ephesians, the 4th chapter, verse 32. Let me remind you of what it says. It says, "Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, even as God in Christ has forgiven you." See, the grace to forgive people who wrong me, that's the grace I need. The miracle I need is for me to be tender-hearted and kind, instead of being abrupt and return bad words with worse words. See, the situations and people I face are those that cut me off in traffic or butt ahead of me in line, who say rude things to me, and I can try to make them an enemy, make them a giant foe. But really, there's people like me who need kindness, forgiveness, someone to show up the way God would have them to show up. See, most of my enemies aren't that big. But I do face people that oppose me, or at least I feel like they do. And it's good to be tender-hearted and kind. That's what the Bible calls us to do. That's our witnesses, followers of Jesus, to turn the other cheek, to not get caught up in a war of words. I think of how I see other people as enemy instead of as someone who just having tough times. I don't know who said these words, but it's words I'm trying to remember each day. It says, "Be kind to others, for everyone is facing some hard battle." Many people are facing their hard battle, and they may occasionally take it out on me or you. And so we don't need miraculous grace, we just need ordinary grace, an ordinary miracle to be kind to them, to forgive them, to turn the other cheek. I don't know what you're facing this day. I don't know who the people that oppose you, but I don't think it's a giant. I think it's someone with about the same height, same stature, maybe a little meaner than you or me, but they still need kindness. They still need forgiveness. And when we do that, when we don't show up treating someone as an enemy or a giant to be toppled over, but as someone to be understood and cared for, at least to be forgiven, to be treated kindly, then God's grace happens. Indeed, it's an ordinary miracle that just might de-escalate a situation, just might make a friend of an enemy, just might have someone experience God's grace as it comes to you and me. Ordinary grace on ordinary days. But every time that happens, it's kind of an ordinary miracle, and we get to be a part of it, if we will. And that's an encouraging word today from Pastor Steve.